At a number 10 spot, we have Silent Hill. This video game is a classic. These are one of the first games that genuinely freaked me out. Specifically, I'm talking about the first installment in the Silent Hill series. I know many people are coming from different game backgrounds, so let me give you a scoop of what it's about. Silent Hill is a psychological survival horror game, and they mean it in every aspect. They are meant to implement both horrifying imagery with intense sound design, which sets the whole eerie atmosphere. However, one cutscene stuck out to me, and it happened to be at the very beginning of the game, where your character Harry wakes up when the sky turns dark, everything becomes foggy, and this eerie soundtrack begins to play in the background. Check it out. That music, man, I swear, every time I listen to it, I never have a good feeling. This was a great opening scene to the game, which set the whole mood, and hats off to Silent Hill. At a number 9 spot, we have PT. This game still lies in the same realm as Silent Hill, and I guess we can't escape it. PT was a game demo or a playable teaser made to be a new game in the Nami series, Silent Hill. This game to many is one of the scariest games they've ever played. This game is all about the uncertainty and uncanniness. It shows that through their story and the scares that we get along the way. However, this one cutscene describes what you'll be in for when you decide to play this game.
His 6-year-old daughter had the good sense to hide in the bathroom.
Other cutscenes in this game are just as horrifying, especially the one where we meet Lisa for the first time in the hallway, so I'll give you guys some of that as well. At a number 8 spot, we have Alien Isolation. This game is a classic horror for many and to me myself. I remember playing this game and I was terrified of aliens even though they weren't even real. Alien Isolation is a first-person horror survival game developed by Creative Assembly and published by Sega. Playing as Miranda, you navigate yourself through an atmosphere of constant dread and mortal danger. The cutscenes will get you in this game every single time they're out. Taken, this is only a death scene. The other cutscene in this game will give you goosebumps and make you feel so scared. At a number 7 spot, we have Outlast Whistleblower DLC. Outlast Whistleblower is a first-person horror survival game as well. It was developed and published by Red Barrels with the intention of being one of the most terrifying games ever made. You play as a software engineer who has been spending time in isolation at Mount Massive, in which he discovers the depressing truth about the dangerous and irresponsible experiments done on the patients there.
God.
The person in the cutscene was Eddie Gluskin, otherwise known as the Groom. All that is known about Eddie is that he was abused as a child, which eventually created him into this monster that mutilates women and is also a serial killer on top of that. If you haven't played any of the Outlast games, I highly recommend them if you're a true game horror fan. At number 6 spot, we have Fatal Frame. Fatal Frame is a Japanese survival horror game and the first installment in the Fatal Frame series. The game is about a folklorist named Mafuya Hinasaki who attempts to capture ghosts on a special camera named the Camera Obscura. The game is horrifying to many and some even found it unplayable. Here's what I mean. This game uses sound to their advantage and each ghost is special with backstories making them feel even more realistic. I love Japanese games, but this is one Japanese game I won't be going near. Right in the hump for our list, we have Amnesia: The Dark Descent. Amnesia is a classic horror game which follows Daniel as he explores through a dark and foreboding castle to solve various puzzles, all while maintaining his sanity. This game doesn't use jump scares as much as the other ones on this list. Instead, it relies on the tension and the buildup of horror, which makes this game in a league of its own. In one cutscene, they don't even try to add in a cheap jump scare. Instead, they want to make you feel super uncomfortable from a chase scene. This is what happens. Scary, right? They say that the best way to play this game is to play in complete darkness with your headphones on. And this is the only way your atmosphere and the game's atmosphere will be one. At a number 4 spot, we have the Walking Dead game. Telltale Games debuted the Walking Dead game in the spring of 2012, and ever since, it has been a hit to all game lovers, including ones interested in horror. I know everyone knows everything to know about zombies, but this game still surprises many with the scenarios you're put in and the urgent feeling of survival throughout the whole game. Early on in the game's first season, there's a moment where the characters appear to find a welcoming family who can help them survive and stay warm. Later on, the protagonist discovers one of the friends bleeding in the bathroom. He only has one leg. He then suddenly realizes that the meat they're eating is in fact human and they're likely to be killed and eaten next.
Don't eat that!
Huh? Lee, Jesus, man. Did you find something?
Oh, sit your ass down, Lee. This lady has made you a meal.
Yeah, Lee, what's gotten into you?
He just had a start.
You're eating human meat!
That's crazy.
The hell? Scaring the kids, Lee.
Lee, what the hell is wrong with you?
Don't indulge him, Lily. There's always something with this guy.
At a number 3 spot, we have Slender the 8 Pages. Everyone should know Slenderman on this list, whether it be from the memes or even the real life homicide inspired by this monster. Slenderman is a creature that'll haunt people's nightmares for a long time. This is the first game in their Slenderman series where you only have a flashlight in the middle of the woods at night, tasked to finding 8 pages scattered around the forest. The only thing standing between you and success is a tall, faceless man who relentlessly stalks you and seems to appear out of thin air every time you turn around. The scariest thing and the most iconic thing about this game are the cutscenes that happen when he finally catches you. At a number 2 spot, we have Dead Space 2. This one is not only scary, but kind of disturbing, so don't say I didn't warn you. Dead Space 2 is a science fiction themed survival horror game where you play as engineer Isaac Clarke on Saturn in the middle of an alien outbreak. The game deals with sci-fi stuff, so there's some stuff in this game that you wouldn't see in others on this list. Let me give you a gist of it. My eyes hurt after this one, so I'm gonna move on to the next point. At number 1 spot, we have Clock Tower 3. Cult horror classic Clock Tower 3 follows protagonist Alyssa, and this game separates itself from other horror titles by only having to deal with one singular enemy at a time. So it's not like you're facing The Grudge, Pennywise, and Freddy Krueger all at once. In one part of the game, she meets a serial killer named Corridor who murders his victims with acid. This game loves backstories, and Corridor's backstory is especially heartbreaking and quite disturbing, so check out this cutscene.
Thank you so much.
That's enough playing happy families. You make me sick. May you both be blinded and search for each other in vain for all eternity. Want to join them? Maybe the acid's lovely.
At a number 10 spot, we have Lisa from PT. For those who don't know, PT was a game demo or a playable teaser made to be a new game in the Nami series Silent Hill. This game, just like other Silent Hill games, is one of the scariest games people claim they have played in their lifetimes. Throughout your eerie journey, an apparition by the name of Lisa appears to you almost at all times, even if you don't see her right away. Lisa is a tall, smiling woman who wears a gray nightgown covered in blood. Throughout the game, you can hear her hysterical laughing and crying all around you, and when you hear her, it's best to assume she is literally right behind you. But don't get too close or she'll start twitching dramatically and brutally attack you. The story goes that Lisa was murdered by her own husband using a firearm. She was shot in the right eye, which is why she appears to be missing it. I'm gonna give you guys one more Lisa encounter. At our number 9 spot, we have clickers from Last of Us. If you haven't played Last of Us, these guys were one of the most terrifying yet most annoying zombie types in the game. Last of Us takes place in a post-apocalyptic world following the story of Joel and Ellie, who were brought together by the fact they lost everything prior and needed each other for their own survival. When you journey through the game, you'll get to a point when you hear this. This sound is produced by the clickers. These blind creatures make these sounds for echolocation, so it's vital to keep yourself unnoticeable to them or else. They look the way they do because they are a result of a prolonged exposure of the brain infection that caused them to be zombies in the first place. At our number 8 spot, we have the witch from Left 4 Dead 2. I'm super excited about this one because for many, Left 4 Dead 2 was one of the most fun and unique co-op survival games of all time. For those unaware, Left 4 Dead 2 is the second installment of the Left 4 Dead series created by Valve Corporation. We follow the lives of 4 people: Ellis, Coach, Rochelle, and Nick, who fight through hordes and hordes of zombies through different unique campaign stages. This game gets pretty hectic with the amount of zombies chasing after you. As well, the game has some very unique zombie variants. To name some, we have the Hunter, the Charger, the Jockey, and personally my favorite, and the one we're gonna talk about, the Witch. The Witch is not like any other in this game. The Witch is unsuspectingly difficult and terrifying at the same time. She is caught crying in a spot in the game where you have to go through, so there's literally no way to avoid her. When you shoot around her or get too close, she'll stop crying and chase after you. At our number 7 spot, we have Laura from The Evil Within. This survival classic was developed by Tango Gameworks and was even directed by Resident Evil series creator Shinji Mikami. After being released in 2014, this game quickly gained the interest of horror game fans all around the world, with many people appreciating the rich, long, brilliantly thought out story and level design the game has to offer. One creature in the game is particularly dangerous and terrifying, and that is Laura. Well, at least a reincarnated version of her. Just to give some backstory before this, she actually looked pretty normal before. This all came to be when Laura was injured in a barn fire and passed away from the injuries. Now coming back in the afterlife, Laura has become this horrific creature. She's completely immune to bullets, but as expected, her weakness is fire. She's crawling on all 4 clawed hands, used to attack her enemies, and she has this ability to teleport behind your character. So there's no way to avoid this encounter. Fun fact, she's actually inspired by the spider yokai from Japanese folklore known as the Yorigam. At our number 6 spot, we're the Xenomorph from Alien Isolation. Alien Isolation is a first-person horror survival game developed by Creative Assembly and published by Sega. But let's forget about Sega for a second. Let's talk about these guys. These guys are known as the Xenomorphs, and they're extraterrestrial creatures designed to be the perfect killing machine. It's quick, stealthy, and it isn't restricted by morality. It has one goal, and that is to propagate, and whatever gets in the way will get brutally massacred. Even the propagations of these aliens is brutal. They're able to inject alien DNA through a human's mouth and will produce another Xenomorph, which literally has to rip itself out of the person's stomach. So there's that, but the cutscenes and death scenes in this game are next level, and I might as well just give you guys a bit of it. Right in the hump of our list, we have animatronics at Five Nights at Freddy's. If you haven't spent a night at Freddy's, I wouldn't highly recommend it. But hey, let's say you're getting paid good. I mean, it's a night shift. They're definitely paying extra. Your job is to take care of Freddy Fazbear's Pizza Restaurant during the night. In it are life-size animatronics that perform for children, but at nights they begin to walk around and move on their own. Then before you know it, basically, what makes these guys so creepy is due to the uncanny valley, which is that feeling when you get when you see something that closely resembles a human but is not quite realistic and not quite there. At a number 4 spot, we have the Reaper Leviathan from Subnautica. I can safely say right now that 99% of us right now are scared of what lies underneath the depths of the ocean, so this one definitely deserves a spot on this list. The Reaper Leviathan is a carnivorous sea creature that is usually found in open areas in the game, such as the crash zone, the dunes, and the mountain. Just like the Leviathan from mythology, this creature is massive. It is 55 meters in length and it possesses a long, slim, muscular body. They also have a horn to stab its prey and an extending mouth housing hundreds of razor-sharp teeth. All the way at our number 3 spot, we have the Volatiles from Dying Light. Dying Light was the first of its kind, being a zombie survival game and a parkour game at the same time. Except this game was no run in the park. As you parkour over walls slashing through zombies, night is bound to hit, and that's when these guys come up. Volatiles are the equivalent to Left 4 Dead's witches, as I mentioned before. When you encounter one and they begin to notice you, they will stop at nothing to bring you down. These guys are massive too, with exposed muscle tissues and bones all over their body. You can constantly hear their heavy breathing and loud screeches in the dead of night. At our number 2 spot, we have Gatherers from Amnesia: The Dark Descent. This game takes place in Prussia around the 1830s. In this game, your character Daniel wakes up in a dark castle with no memory of anything else other than his name. Not only are you walking through these creepy halls and solving some pretty complicated puzzles, but you're also being hunted by this creature that had once served as servants in the castle. These creatures are known as the Gatherers, and there are 2 kinds, the Servant Grunt and the Servant Brute. And as you can tell, you'd much rather have an encounter with the Grunt. The Brute, on the other hand, is someone you don't want to meet. They have the ability to kill your character in only 1 strike, making this game much harder since you can't even hit anything that comes at you. If you're in a horror survival puzzle game that only leaves you defenseless, Amnesia is the game for you. At our number 1 spot, we have Jack Baker from Resident Evil 7.
Welcome to the family, son.
In Resident Evil 7, we meet Jack Baker, who is an American serial killer who stole, murdered, and consumed over 100 men and women. For Resident Evil fans, this is known since they are quite literally feeding you human organs.
Where am I? What the hell?
Rise and shine, sleepyhead. It's time for supper.
Most terrifying part for sure is the part where he chases you down with a chainsaw. This part gave me Texas Chainsaw Massacre vibes, and I was literally quite on the edge of my seat trying my best not to die in the game. This game also utilizes chase scenes very well because unlike their other games, there is no way to look back while running without completely turning towards the danger, which only can make your screen crawl more because you'll never know how far the enemy truly is from you. Coming in at number 10, we have Fear: The Ladder Scene. Fear is arguably the greatest horror FPS game there is. It was released in October 2005 and developed by Monolith Productions. I don't want to spoil much about this game because you kind of have to experience the story. Yep, I said experience. But basically it revolves around the idea of a supernatural entity. You play the captain of a fictional special force team while uncovering the secrets of the little girl you keep seeing. One part of the game stuck out to many players for being one of the most unexpected scary moments in a video game. Ever heard of a 2-for-1? That was it. The thing about this is that before the ladder scene, you have to navigate these dark sewers all while hearing the little girl Alma laughing around you. but the fact that they scare you at the top of the ladder made it so the second scare hit you that much harder. At a number 9 spot, we have Dying Light, the Volatile.
I swear to God, there's a big guy. I can't.
Oh yeah. Back up.
There's a big one.
I don't think he sees us. We're good though. We're good at the moment.
Alright, Benny.
Yup, these are arguably one of the scariest encounters you'll have in any game. For those who don't know, the game is Dying Light and these are the Volatiles. This game was first of its kind, being a zombie survival and a parkour game at the same time. Except this game was no run in the park. As you park over walls, slashing through zombies, night is bound to hit. And that's when these guys come out. Volatiles are the equivalent of the Hulks of all the zombies. They have super strength, super speed, and are probably the scariest thing that will be chasing you in the game. When you encounter one and they notice you, they will stop at nothing to bring you down. These guys are massive too, with exposed muscle tissues and bones all over their body. And you can constantly hear their heavy breathing and loud screeches in the dead of night. Personally, I remember playing this game and not having spent one night outside just so I don't have to encounter any one of them. At a number 8 spot, we have the Fatal Frame pop-outs. Japan is known for their horror content, and this game displayed that beautifully. Fatal Frame is an entire video game series developed by Tecmo, who's also done games like Dead or Alive and Deception, so you know they have a pretty good reputation. The game consisted of walking around a haunted location, looking for clues, and fighting ghosts with only a camera. The haunted location you're staying was used for satanic rituals, usually involving the sacrifice of a young girl. So just be prepared to encounter many terrifying pop-outs. As mentioned, you would probably be wandering around the halls when the music suddenly comes out of nowhere. Worst of them was hearing Broken Neck Lady's music, not seeing her, opening your viewfinder, then bam, she's right in front of you.
What happens as soon as we open this, Kyle? Ready?
No?
At a number 7 spot, we have Annoying the Witch from Left 4 Dead. You heard it here first. Left 4 Dead 2 is one of the most fun and unique co-op zombie survival games of all time. For those who haven't been blessed by the presence of this game, Left 4 Dead 2 is the second installment of the Left 4 Dead series created by Valve Corporation. We follow the lives of 4 people: Ellis, Coach, Rochelle, and Nick, who fight through hordes of zombies through different unique campaign missions. This game gets pretty hectic with the amount of zombies chasing after you, but nothing quite compares to the zombie known as the Witch. For a lot of us, the Witch caught us off guard. We would hear her crying, then we would go up and see this innocent looking person sitting on the ground. Except when you try to touch her, and let me tell you, when you get her attention, she has the ability to run at incredible speeds and down your character within seconds from her razor sharp claws. So go do me a favor. If you're interested in horror games with friends, check out Left 4 Dead 2. At a number 6 spot, we have the intro to Silent Hill. Silent Hill is one of the most classic horror games and will go down in history. But in addition, this is one of the first games that genuinely terrified me as a child. Specifically, I'm talking about the opening scene in the first Silent Hill game. Your character, Harry, wakes up when the sky turns dark, everything becomes foggy, and this eerie soundtrack plays in the background. I think the best for you guys is to just see it for yourself. The music is one of the most defining points of the scene, as well as the overall foggy imagery, not really knowing what could be out there. I believe they did this to mess with the players from the start. This game already had so many bizarre and unexplained things, and this only started it all. So hats off to Silent Hill, and if you haven't, I would highly recommend these games if you're into horror games. In the hum of our list, we have the atmosphere of Amnesia: The Dark Descent. Unlike others on this list, this game didn't center on pop-ups as their focal point. Instead, they made the game feel organic with heart-pounding suspense and tension every moment of the game. This game likes to have a lot of dark areas, especially to make you feel as if someone is always there. Then when you combine that with a great background audio, then you're just gonna be anxious and scared the entire game. There would be moments in the game where you're trapped with a monster and all you could hear is shuffling left, right, behind you, in front of you, and you end up being trapped not knowing what to do. Maybe that was just me, but you guys get the point. Regardless, the gaming community really loves the psychological horror this game has to offer. Number 4, animatronics from Five Nights at Freddy. If you haven't spent a night at Freddy's, I wouldn't highly recommend it. But hey, let's say they're paying good. I mean, it's a night shift. They're definitely paying extra. Your job is to take care of Freddy Fazbear's Pizza Restaurant during the night. In it are these life-size animatronic characters that perform for children, but at nights they begin to walk around and move on their own. Yup. Basically, what makes these guys so creepy is due to the uncanny valley, which is that feeling you get when you see something that closely resembles a human, but is not quite realistic. But in this case, they're animatronics, but they're really moving like humans. This should be a thing other game designers should note. If you make something that could both look like a children's toy and demon spawn, then you can replicate the eerie and creepy you get from the animatronics. Number 3, the Dead Space gore. This one is not only scary, but kinda disturbing, so don't say I didn't warn you. Specifically, we're going to talk about Dead Space 2. This is a science fiction themed survival game where you play as an engineer, Isaiah Clarke, on Saturn in the middle of a necromorph alien outbreak. The game deals with many sci-fi related concepts, so there's some stuff in this game that you wouldn't see in others. Let me give you the gist of it. If you don't feel pain in your eye, then something is very wrong with you. Dead Space 2 for me was the best in the series, although others will disagree. I think it combined action and horror really good and created fear based on the anticipation of certain enemies and areas where you know you're going to have a hard time. Number 2, a Slenderman attack. Slenderman, whether you like it or you don't, will go down as the most iconic horror game of all time. Whether it be from the memes or even the real life homicide inspired by the monster, Slenderman is a creature that'll be on our minds forever. Slender 8 Pages is the first game in the Slenderman series. The game's situated inside of a dark plain forest where you have only a flashlight and tasked to find 8 pages scattered around the area. The only thing standing between you and your goal is a tall faceless man who relentlessly stalks you and seems to appear out of the thin air every time you turn around. The scariest thing and the most iconic thing about this game are the cutscenes that'll happen to you when he finally catches you. At a number 1 spot, we have a Herobrine encounter. This was every child's worst fear when they were venturing through the blocky world of Minecraft. So who was this white-eyed Steve that haunted everyone in the innocent game? Herobrine was popularized in 2010 by a video game streamer called Copeland in a hoax on Brocraft, his live stream channel for the video game Minecraft. However, in the creepypasta we all know and love, it talks about one Minecraft user who encounters another player in a single player mode game. Then he reports strange things such as random tunneling, sand temples, and even trees with no leaves. Ever since, Herobrine has been a mystery to Minecraft. The funniest thing about all of this is that even Minecraft says, quote, removed Herobrine every single patch update just to tease us a little more about his existence.
Okay, let's use a diamond.
But what do you guys think? Do you think he exists, or do you think he's just a plain hoax that they keep trying to play on? At a number 10 spot, we have the Silent Hill series. Probably the most iconic one on this list, the Silent Hill series is one of the most disturbing nightmare situations in a game. The music, the atmosphere, the story, the monsters. It seems like this game took over the horror genre and just made it its own. Silent Hill was published by Konami back in 1999. It is a psychological horror franchise, and much of the game deals with the actions people take and the way they justify it using experiencing guilt, anger, or manifesting it to be something bigger. So just to make things clear, the first 4 games of this series were created by Japanese developers, and this includes Silent Hill, Silent Hill 2, Silent Hill 3, and Silent Hill 4 The Room. Konami Computer Entertainment Tokyo had various developmental groups, and Team Silent was the one who developed these specific 4 games. At a number 9 spot, we have Fatal Frame series. If you were looking for a game that implements Japanese culture, folklore with horror wrapped up in a nice story, then maybe Fatal Frame is for you. Fatal Frame, or Zero in Japan, is a survival game horror franchise with 5 installments, 2 spin-offs, 2 special editions, and a whole remake. These horrific games were developed by Japanese video game developers Tecmo, who has also released games like Dead or Alive, Deception, or Star Force. The game has you playing as a single character walking around a haunted location looking for clues and fighting ghosts with only a camera. It's called the camera obscura, and it's able to take pictures that normal humans can't see, kind of like a third eye to see spirits. Set in the 1980s Japan, this game takes place in Himura Mansion, where it's said that every 10 years a ritual involving sacrificing a young girl would take place. They would do this by detaching her from all worldly needs before sending her to the afterlife. Except one year it all failed because the young girl fell in love. This caused the family to believe they had dishonored themselves and the family, in which caused each and every single one of them to take their own life away by a traditional Japanese katana. Now their souls are trapped in this mansion for you to explore. At number 8 spot, we have The Evil Within. This is a game that is a very skilled reliant game in that every action and decision you take will actively change the world around you. So at times this game is pretty terrifying. The Evil Within, or Cycle Break in Japan, is a survival horror game developed by Tango Gameworks and published by Bethesda Softworks. It was released in October 2014 and released virtually on every single platform including PC, PlayStation, and Xbox. I'm sorry, Nintendo users. The story follows a guy named Sebastian who has to navigate himself through different chapters filled with these horrifying creatures and realistic needs, such as the need for resources in this game. Trust me, you need to find resources. But other than that, the real horror of this game comes from the whole atmosphere it sets in the Beacon Mental Hospital, where a mass murder took place, and the psychological effects you get with every decision you make. At number 7 spot, we have Yamarari Night Alone. Yamorari is a puzzle-solving survival horror game developed by Nippon Ichi Software. The game I will be talking about is only one game of the Yamari series. Being released in October of 2015, the game received a lot of international praise. The story follows 2 young girls, Yu and Haru, who are headed home before they got separated by a vicious attacker. As the 2 get lost, they have to navigate themselves back home, but the path they travel is much more terrifying than their usual. You will be playing as both the girls, and each decision you make will impact the other girl. The way this game uses sound effects and lighting to emphasize their scares gives them a spot on this list for sure. Not to mention the unique and interesting ways to get through each of the stage of this game. This game is really worth the buy. At number 6 spot, we have The Calling. I kinda threw shade at Nintendo on my last point, so I had to mention one of their exclusives on this list. We have the game The Calling, or Kuroki Kokushin as it is in Japan. This survival horror game was developed by Hudson Soft and released on November 19, 2009. This game is extremely underrated on this list, and I personally think it deserved a spot for a lot of you guys to notice, at least in the horror section of gaming. The game would use your Nintendo Wii controller as a telephone and would randomly ring throughout the game. On the other end would be spirits, ghosts, demons, which is already scary of a concept if you ask me. Obviously the controller could also be used to interact with objects around, but definitely the phone idea, props to them. The game follows a group of characters exploring Mnemonic Abyss, which is a place between life and death, and from here they experience restless ghosts and creepy phone rings from spirits. On the hump of our list, we have Bloodborne. Created by the renowned Japanese developer From Software, Bloodborne is just as hard as its counterparts Dark Souls and Elden Ring from the same developer. Except Bloodborne definitely takes its spot as one of the most terrifying games along with its extreme difficulty. Released as a PS4 exclusive back in 2015, Bloodborne follows a hunter who's in charge of cleaning up the mess that a disease has caused on the citizens of Yharnam, causing them to be these oversized, superpowered humans, almost godlike. And yeah, lots of blood, lots and lots of blood. This gothic-inspired city harbors some of the most cruel enemies ever shown in horror games, along with the creepy atmosphere that follows you throughout the entirety of the game. My favorite thing about this game that sets them apart from others on this list is definitely their combat system. There are so many different weapon types that only add up to so many different combat strategies. This game allows you to go crazy and pull off combos, which is always something fun to do. And this definitely beats poking and weaving around the whole time. Dark Souls. At number 4 spot, we have Shadow Corridor. This survival indie game was created by a single man named Kazuki Joma, using the infamous Unreal Engine 4. It was released as a free-to-play on June 21st, 2017. In the beginning, you start off as a normal person walking happy across multiple old valleys of Japan. This until you get into a tunnel that transports you into a nightmare in a pure Spirited Away style. Inside this nightmare, you have to confront a world full of apparitions, no mask, and demons and creatures. As well, you have to collect items to survive and get to solve the mystery behind this nightmarish world. Another great point in favor of this game is that in order to unravel all of its secrets, you're going to be spending lots of hours finding hidden items, hidden rooms, collecting all special items, running against the clock to finish the stage, all sorts of things. All the way at a number 3 spot, we have Siren Blood Curse. Siren Blood Curse, or as it's known in Japan as Siren New Translation, is a stealth-based survival horror game developed by Sony's Japan studio. It was exclusive for PlayStation, so once again, Xbox fans have another one of those games that will never see the light of day. The game was later released in 2008. The story begins on August 3rd, 2007 and focuses on an American television crew that arrives in Japan to investigate and document the legend of Hanuda, a vanished village where human sacrifices are said to have taken place 30 years prior. The atmosphere in this game is very unique as well, and at a time in this game, the Japanese village was stuck in a hell-like time loop and would often go split screen to show the two worlds of the living and the dead. The game was a remake of the American version, so it used a lot of Caucasian characters and voice actors despite its Japanese origin. This is definitely another unrated Japanese horror game on this list, and if you like being sneaky and quiet in a horror game, this one might be for you. At a number 2 spot, we have the Corpse Party. Another one of this list created by a single person. Corpse Party was published in 1996 spring, and it was made by 22-year-old college student Makoto Kaduan. Corpse Party is a survival horror game and adventure game that follows a group of friends performing a ritual, except this would instead send them to another dimension where they would be tormented by the ghosts of other children. During the game, you must be able to go through psychological and emotional screwing scenes and a story that will make you question your insanity at times. Along with a terrifying ambience, constant jump scares, unique puzzle, this game will definitely not disappoint. The reason I love this game so much is because it actually plays out like a visual novel almost. The character development and dialogue is what pushes this game to be one of the top contenders in the horror genre. And a great thing I appreciate is that they do add light moments to add relief, as this game will literally have you scared the whole time you play it. At our number 1 spot, we have the Clock Tower 3. I couldn't finish this list without adding one of Japan's most iconic horror games, Clock Tower 3. Clock Tower 3 is a survival horror game that is co-produced by both Capcom and Sunsoft and made as an exclusive for PlayStation 2. The plot follows 14-year-old Alyssa as she tries to escape the menacing clock tower and the slaves inside of it. The majority of the game is played without the use of a weapon, relying instead of your ability to run through or dodge foes. The game has good graphics, mood, and scripting despite some repetitive mechanics and overall commercial failure. The fear comes from a general lack of ability to defend oneself and the ensuing dependency on fleeing or figuring out puzzles. The pressure is to come up with a solution as soon as possible before it's too late.